Alright, in this video we'll see how to show variable product in the form of thumbnail. So as you see in the screen, we have two different variation, white and black. So without selecting the drop down, which is usually WordPress gives you, WooCommerce gives you, I have added a section, and this section you see, as I hover, you'll see the white t-shirt cost is 450 and the black t-shirt cost is 380. So it will give you a overview what are the variation, and it will display its thumbnail image, and along with the thumbnail image it will show the price. So that's what we are going to create in this video. So it's actually one of the client requirement, as they asked on the free version of WooCommerce. They would simply have this drop down button. So this drop down button will not give a idea of what are the variation that this particular product has. So instead what they wanted is they wanted to show a preview of the variation. So here the variation is black t-shirt and white t-shirt. So based on that you'll see the variation and you see the price as I hover. So this is the business requirement. Now let's look from the point of plugin creation. So when we create a plugin, we would be simply overwriting the variable.php page. Variable.php is the page which shows this particular section, the drop down, the color, and along with that I am simply adding our code that will display the attribute, and this attribute is not global attribute. This attribute is related to this particular product. If you get into the edit product page, you will see the attribute. The attribute is just colors. In the colors we have two different variation, black and white. So these two variation we are displaying it on the variable.php by modifying some lines of code. Without wasting time, let's get into the work. So to make our plugin show in this particular page, let me just deactivate this. We want to create a folder on the plugins folder. Let me create a plugin folder and we'll call it Woo attribute, and inside Woo attribute we need to create a new file. It would be a PHP file, and this PHP file should have the same name as your folder name. And now to give the description, we have Woo attribute thumbnail. This is the plugin name, and if you make a refresh and click on activate, once I click on activate, the code doesn't have anything. So why we need two things. Let's just enqueue this styles and script. When we activate this plugin, we want to have this kind of style and the script. So let me create a new file and call it as style.css, and we'll create another which will have script.js. Let's paste the relevant style and relevant JS into our lines of code. So that's basic style and script. We don't have to worry about it. Now we need to enqueue the added style and script. So we have already seen this is WooCommerce based. We are not going to explicitly understand what the enqueue style. For that we have a different playlist called WordPress plugin development, where I have explained line by line. So just to give you a quick overview, we are saying that in this particular folder, grab this file. Again, in this particular folder, which is my current plugin folder, grab the script.js, but before running script.js, make sure to run the jQuery. So this is dependable. This file is dependable on jQuery. So that's the minimum requirement, or the minimum understanding that is required to understand this enqueue script. And we need to run another hook, and that hook will look for diversion. When WooCommerce look for variable.php, I would write a code and it would say, instead of looking for the variable.php in WooCommerce folder, look for variable.php in my current folder of plugin. So we have already seen this enough, and as said, when WooCommerce look for this particular folder, look for this file structure, and I would say get into my folder, go attribute and create templates, and inside templates we need to create variable.php. And let's understand what is there on the variable.php inside WooCommerce. This is the default template, single product. You've already seen this. And for the variable, inside add to cart, click on variable. Now if we need to copy this and paste it into our folder, so this does nothing. It is similar to what you have here. So if you see, we have the out of stock. So the out of stock will be available. Since there is no out of stock, it is just displaying as it is. And this is the drop down which you see here, this drop down, and it's in the table format. You can see TT. This table header will have the attribute name which we have given. So here the attribute name that I have given is color. So this is the attribute name, so that's what it is showing up in the table header, this color, and this is the drop down. So this is the drop down. Now we need to replace this lines with our we need to code custom attribute. So let's do the custom attribute code. So it's a little confusing, but I would try my best to simplify. Now let's do that. Basically we need 3 for loop. The first for loop will I'll show a representation way. The first for loop will check how many attribute that you have. So that's on the first for loop. So inside second for loop we need variation. So inside second for loop we would see the types of variation, black and white. That is that we will get on the second for loop. So this is again a for loop option. And for the third for loop we will have to get into individual attribute. So we have image, we have access to price, and that we will have over here. So I hope I have made it clear. So since this is not global attribute, this is the attribute related to this particular product. We are going to run for loop for each loop for the variation. As of now I just have one attribute, so that's why on the first for loop we'll get till here. On the second for loop we will get into variation, and over to variation we have 2 datas. And on the second for loop, let's say we are in the white, and again a for loop will run, and this for loop will retrieve the thumbnail image and the price. So that's why we are setting it to the variation ID 0, image URL and price. We just need image URL and price and variation ID. So we will get all these value on the inner for loop for each loop. So that's why we'll get the values image URL, variation ID and price. And if we found the variation ID, we need to get the image URL, we need to get the price and display it. Display it in the form of, so let's just refresh this. It's not saved yet. Now I have saved it. Now if I make a refresh, you will find the thumbnail, also the price. So that's what the innermost for each loop does, and we have in the form of table. So I hope the scope of this video is done. This is how we display. There are some more ways that we can do. If I click on it, you will automatically see the price, but we are not. We are limiting it till here. We'll look for the Ajax based way in the coming week. As of now, it will just act as a display banner. So in this display banner, you will see this is the price of 450 and it has a price of 380, and this is coming from the CSS which we have enqueued over here. So if you want, you can make the size to 150 and 150 here, and just refresh it. You'll have the size. So that's how you can display it in your product page.